The day after 9/11, as the world stared at television screens depicting the Twin Towers burning, Michele Ann Harris, then a mother to 2 young daughters and 2 young sons, whom she shared with Cal Harris, went missing. Cal Harris would spend the next 15 years trying to prove his innocence, while his 4 children suffered the absence of their mother and the loss of their father to 15 years of prosecutions and his wrongful imprisonment. They were practically orphans. Their father was finally exonerated, but 24 years later, the truth about what happened to their mother and who is responsible for her disappearance is still unknown. Every Christmas, Thanksgiving, Mother's Days, and birthdays, they are reminded about the empty seat at the table. Throughout the decades, as they celebrate graduations, job promotions, engagements, and the birth of their own children, the Harris kids commemorate these landmark rites of passages with a profound longing that their mother was present to share in their joy. They miss her love. For what is practically their lifetime, they have wrestled with the frustration of not knowing where their mother is or why and how she vanished. They vacillate between grief of her presumed death and fanciful hope that she may still be alive, and the desire to know who killed her and where she is. Michele Harris would be so proud of her kids today. Taylor, who's 31, graduated from Cornell University and is a field specialist at a national agronomic solution provider. He is getting married at the end of the summer. Kayla, who's 29, graduated from Syracuse University and is a public relations and marketing specialist at an insurance provider. Jenna, 27, here with us today, and who is the spitting image of her mother, is going to be her mom herself in a few weeks. Congratulations. And Tanner, to my right, 26, is in charge of security and software at Binghamton University, where he collaborates daily with campus police. Despite what can only be described as a uniquely traumatic childhood, the Harris children turned out to be intelligent, hardworking, successful, humble, and loving adults. While their father parented from a prison phone, they lived in fear that both their parents would never come home. Finally, after his 4th murder trial, he was found not guilty, and Cal was able to forever reunite with his children. But the individual responsible for their mother's disappearance is still at large. Cal is therefore offering a $100,000 reward to whomever offers information resulting in the recovery of Michele Harris's remains. His children deserve the opportunity to know what happened to their mother, and she deserves a proper burial so she can finally rest in peace. Thank you.
We want to thank you all for coming here today to help us spread the word on this latest development regarding the disappearance of Michele Harris. I know that many of you out there are sick and tired of hearing about Cal Harris and this case. I can assure you that my children and I equally share your sentiment. The last 24 years have been nothing short of pure hell and torture for our family. We did not ask to be put in this position. This is the hand we've been dealt, and we're dealing with it the best we can. Today, we announce a $100,000 reward for information leading to the location of Michele Harris. It's time to bring Michele home and give her the proper resting place she and her family deserve. The obvious question is, why now? Mr. Barquette and his team continue to develop new leads and information regarding Michele's disappearance. They believe they've reached a point that warrants this type of action. I will now turn it over and let them explain.
Go ahead, Jenna. Can everybody hear Jenna from where she is? Go ahead.
Bear with me. I'm Jenna. I'm the third of the 4 children. What ultimately made up my mind in choosing to speak today is the fact that I am preparing to become a mother in 5 short weeks. This pregnancy has left no emotion unturned and put the whole situation into a new perspective for me. They say time heals all wounds, but I'm finding that as time goes on, it's only gotten harder for me. I remember 15 years ago being an early teenager and being scared of all the firsts that happened in those early years and not having my mom there to help me navigate those situations. I remember 10 years ago having to pick out a prom dress of all things and thinking forward to my wedding someday and being scared of not having my mom there to help me pick out that dress either. At that time, the thought of having children seemed a lot farther away than it is today, and I'm still scared. I can only speak for myself, but the older I get, the bigger life events get and the deeper the wound of not having my mom there grows. While I think of my mom every day, even in the smallest ways, this most recent Mother's Day was extremely difficult. As I'm overly excited to become a mother myself, I couldn't help but feeling sad for all the years that we've lost without ours. If anybody has any information, please come forward. Thank you.
So happy to answer any questions people may have.
So I understand one time you had a civil suit lodged against state police and the Tioga County District Attorney's Office. What's the status?
There are 2 pending civil cases, one in state court, which will go to trial next year, early next year, and the federal case you referred to will go to trial in October. Those suits really aren't relevant today in our quest to try to locate Michelle's remains, but they were very helpful. The discovery process yielded some information that we think, coupled with what we hope will be some more information from this, that we actually think there's a reasonable possibility that we're going to locate her, which is why we're moving forward today. And I'm very happy that, well, I'm happy that some of the work that we've done has led to this point, and I hope that we can bring Michele home and let her finally rest in peace.
Given that the relationship with state police and the Tioga County District Attorney's Office has been so acrimonious, do you have faith that if you were to uncover evidence that you felt directed toward who you believe is her murderer, that they would accept that evidence, that they would pursue the investigation?
We're not part of law enforcement. I'm sure they'll do whatever they think is best given their perspective. What our goal here is today and moving forward as it relates to this reward is to find Michele and to do that for her family, for her children, and for Cal, and including her brother and her family, the Taylors. We think that it's critically important. What law enforcement does with that, if we're successful, is up to law enforcement.
I noticed in your release that you once again made reference to Michele being seen speaking with someone at the foot of the driveway, and that you are of the belief that that person, I'm trying to find it here, Stacy Stewart. This name came up quite a bit in the trials. Are you still confident that Stacy Stewart is a person of interest, and why?
Yes, is the short answer to your question. We believe that Michele was last seen arguing with Mr. Stewart at the base of her driveway. The description of the individuals she was arguing with matches Stacy Stewart to a T, as does the description of the vehicle, the truck that was behind Michelle's van, also matches Mr. Stewart. So yes, we're confident that she was last seen speaking to him.
And you believe that was actually after midnight, so that would put her last known time of being seen on September 12th as opposed to the 11th?
She was last seen September 12th around 5 o'clock in the morning, so well after midnight.
Where is Mr. Stewart these days?
He is in Texas. I'm glad you asked that. He is in Texas, where he moved shortly after Michelle's disappearance. One of the things that happened is he abandoned a piece of property that he bought and went back to Texas hurriedly, if you will. He, along with Christopher Thomason, both hailed from Texas, came up here to work at a plant in the northern tier of Pennsylvania, and they both left together, and they're both still in Texas. Different parts of the state, but they're both there.
That property that he purchased, is that the one that had the alleged burn pit that was of interest?
Not an alleged, there was a burn pit there, and there were items recovered in it, yes.
Could those items be tied to Michele?
Forensically, we've not been able to do that yet, but there were interesting finds. There was some items in there that we think are relevant, but so far, from a forensic standpoint, we haven't been able to, because of the passage of time and the conditions in which they were found, we haven't been able to link those to Michele.
You mentioned that some rather expensive jewelry went missing. Does that lead you to believe that robbery was a motive behind her death?
I don't know what the motive was. We don't, so we won't know what happened. But the jewelry being missing is a very interesting fact.
Is it possible to ask questions of Jenna or
Sure. Anybody, you can ask anybody anything. We can answer it, we will.
So, Jenna, how old were you when your mom disappeared? And what in the early days did you even know about her disappearance? Was there an effort to shield you kids at all from what was going on? Or were you well aware of all the accusations and such as they were happening?
I was 4, so I really don't remember anything. I don't know if it was, my brain trauma responding to blacking things out. I don't know. I was only 4.
Were there times as you were growing up that you couldn't help but hear the whispers and gossips and whatnot about your family?
I probably didn't start hearing about those things until middle school when social media became a thing. So.
Jenna, do you mind if I ask similar questions? How old you were when your mom went missing and what you knew about it at the time?
Yeah. Sure. Actually, never mind on that.
No, I understand.
He was 2 years old,
Okay.
and he grew up with essentially just his father, and his father was in and out of prison fighting against this wrongful prosecution for literally 15 years. So this has been a lifetime, almost a lifetime for Tanner of struggle.
Cal, can I ask, for you, I'm sure some people would see this as primarily motivated by you trying to clear your name, but how much is that part of your motivation versus trying to seek this closure for your children?
I think it's time, with the new developments that Bruce and his team have been able to uncover, that it's time to, I agree with Bruce to come forward with this $100,000 reward. If there's just somebody out there that didn't feel they had any incentive to come forward over the last 24 years, maybe this will help. Maybe someone thinks that they don't really have anything important to offer, and I would just say that to those people, that if you think that there's something that isn't important to you, it could be very important to us. So it's been a long process. Bruce and his team have been working diligently since I brought him on board. over 10 years ago now.
2013.
And they have done tremendous work. And so we're getting close. We're very, very close, and it's time to pull out all the stops to see if we can just get this over the finish line. As Bruce mentioned, we're not going to get any help at this point from the New York State Police or the Attorney General's office. We're just not going to get any help. And we've taken this case as far as we possibly can legally. We just don't have the legal authority to extradite and charge and indict and prosecute. We don't have that authority. So
Sorry. So I'll say this, that the question that you started, or the way you started the question, Cal's name, Cal has been cleared. That is over. And the people stuck in this mindset of 2009 or 2012, after which he was wrongly convicted, need to get over it. He was acquitted 10 years ago, or 9 years ago now. That's not what this is about. It's about finding Michele and trying to bring her home for her family.
How key, Bruce, was the change of venue in the whole prosecution, given that there was quite a bit of sentiment that public opinion in Tioga County seemed to be prejudiced against Cal?
We did polling prior to filing the motion for a change of venue. 80% of the county, I think at the time only had 50,000 people in it. 80% of them had already made up their mind about the case. Cal had a higher name recognition than the Vice President of the United States at that time. If I recall, the numbers were like 96 to 92. But more people in Tioga knew Cal, knew who he was, than knew who the Vice President of the United States was. And at the time, it was Joe Biden. So that gives you some idea of what happened with the press in the first 10 years of this ordeal.
Could you tell us more about how you've been investigating this case since 2016? Or can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I'll tell you at least about the process, right? So the civil cases allow us to subpoena documents and items, subpoena people, conduct depositions, and that's been very helpful. And so in that sense, that's what's been good. I'm not going to talk about the details of what we've learned because I want to be able to preserve that for us and make sure it doesn't taint any investigation or people go, I don't want to say something and then have somebody call us and tell us what I said in the media. I want people to come forward with the information they have, and we'll match that up to what we know. And we're more than hopeful that this is going to yield some fruit. I mean, it's been 24 years, but the case has been in the media and in people's minds, I think, for this entire time. And Michele is still missing, but she's someplace, and people know where she is.
Do you think the fact that you've gone as far as you can when it comes to the legal actions, do you think that might encourage people more to step forward with information that might not have in the past?
I hope that people step forward for the best of reasons, that they see the struggle that the children have gone through. And anybody with family or anybody who's lost family members can understand how devastating it is not to be able to conduct a proper funeral or service, not to have a burial site. Things like that are really important. So I hope people will come forward because they want to help the family heal. On the other hand, we're offering $100,000, or Cal is. So if people want to come forward with accurate information, and if that's their incentive, that's why we're offering the money.
What about the possibility, though, given that it is such a significant reward, that it may be flooded with a bunch of bogus tips in an effort to get that money?
Well,
We expect that, and we're going to sift through them, each and every single one. We have evidence and leads that we pursued during the criminal case, and we're hoping that new information coupled with that evidence that we already have will lead to a direct result.
Cal, if I could ask you what it meant to you to have the support of your children through, in particular, I recall the trials in Schoharie. They were pretty regular attendees, and obviously obviously were very much supporting you. What did that mean to you at that time?
Everything, you know. They're the reason that I've been fighting for the last 24 years. You know, there were definitely some low points in time for me, especially sitting in a prison cell and not knowing if I was ever going to be released, and lying there. I averaged 17 hours a day in my cell, and I was busy. I had 2 jobs. I went outside every day to exercise. I had visitation. I did everything possible. I went to classes at night just to get out of my cell, but I still averaged 17 hours a day. And you don't have much to do there, but just think about your family and what could be, what could have been, you know. And at the time, I had no idea that I would be sitting here today. So they have always been my motivation to stay strong and be there for them and not quit. And I'm grateful that we are together as a family, and there's still a hole here with Michele missing. But we are here together as a family, and to have them there and support me has meant everything. And I will continue to fight, you know, till the day I die, to be there for my kids. I am very protective of my kids. I'm no mama bear, but I'm a pretty close. It's hard for me to see people that say things, especially on social media, that are so cruel and so disgusting at some point. And it's hard for me to know that my children see that. And it's unfair. I understand it, but I'm very, very protective of my kids, and I will always be. And to answer your question, it meant everything to me. All the fighting that I did to stay strong paid off.
I haven't read your specific civil suits that you've filed, but I'm assuming they've largely alleged some form of prosecutorial misconduct by state police and the DA. What do you think motivated that, if that's your belief? Why did they want to come after you?
Can I politely defer on that? I mean, this is not a day about the civil suits. I don't want to get into those allegations. They're there for people to read. If I can highlight, I hope you all will, I mean, appreciate you being here, but I hope everybody will broadcast the phone number. It's 888-644-0889. You can call that 24 hours a day, leave a message, or if somebody doesn't pick up, and you can go to the website, findmichelleharris.com, and put in the information. We will absolutely follow up on every single lead or tip or call that we get, and that's important. That's the point of today, is to motivate individuals, and I think we know who they are, some of them anyway. Motivate these individuals to come forward and provide this information. It would be the reward will be great in heaven, as the saying goes, but it'll also be good here on earth with the reward that Cal has put up. And that's what we want to focus on today, is finding Michele and bringing her home.
One thing that might help jog someone's memory is the fact that I have done a podcast on YouTube. It's called the Cal Harris Podcast. And if you go there, click on live, and I've done 5 or 6 episodes, I think, starting from when Michele and I met to when we got married, all the way through. There's also an episode or 2 there about the prosecution and the investigation. And if people out there that are listening and think they may know something, if there's something in my podcast that will help jog their memory, I encourage them to go there. Again, it's on YouTube. It's the Cal Harris Podcast. Click on live when you get there. And I've listed all the episodes and what they are, and they're about a half hour, 45 minutes each. It's free. I'm not looking to make any money on this. It's strictly informational. But there's some good information in there about the prosecution and the investigation on behalf of the state police and the district attorney's office.
Can you remind us of what your address was on Halsey Valley Road and roughly what that area is, in case that's helpful to people to recall that general geography?
It's, our address, home address was 381 Hagedorn Hill Road, Spencer, New York. And,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I also want to mention, we mentioned it earlier, but we also believe that there are a number of witnesses in Texas that have information about the disappearance of Michele Harris. There was a number of individuals that began working at a steel factory, and they moved from Texas to New York to work there, and then many of them have since moved back to Texas. So we're speaking to anyone locally here in New York, across the border into Pennsylvania, but also Texas, that has information about what happened to Michele Harris.
Does the fact that the reward I've seen in the press release could be split between multiple parties if information leading to recovery does come from multiple sources? If anybody could just speak about this and how perhaps any little piece of information leading to discovery is needed in this case.
What do you mean is need? Obviously, we need some information, and if the information we receive results in the recovery of Michele, we will, the reward will be paid. But it is a single reward. It's kind of like the lottery ticket. If 3 people get it, they don't each get the total, they split the total, and that's the same basis that we work here. And it actually encourages people to come forward quickly if they can, because if we get information and we find Michele, then that's that. If it kind of people wait, then they take the chance, I suppose, that somebody else will be in front of them in line.
I think rather maybe to rephrase that, just how any information, no matter how big or small it may be, is something that you guys would be looking for.
Yeah, of course. Anything that people have, any information that people have, we'd like to know it, whatever it is. Cal mentioned, no matter, it may seem insignificant, and it may have seemed insignificant for all these years. Now it could be critical. We're kind of at that point where 1 or 2 more pieces of actual information or evidence could end up tipping the scales and giving us a location for Michele.
I know you guys obviously were in contact with New York State Police, but you're also talking to people in Texas. Have you been in contact with legal people? Were you guys ever in contact with legal people from Texas as well?
Well, when you say legal people, we've had lawyers down there that have helped us serve subpoenas. The Texas law enforcement community, we have not been directly in touch with, but there was a Texas Ranger who I think provided some information after interviewing somebody that was helpful. And that goes back 20 years, or nearly 20 years.
See, just from how this reads, the reward for information resulting in the recovery of Michele Harris's remains. So does that mean you've given up hope of finding her alive?
Sorry, go ahead.
No. As you see from Cal's love of his children, you can imagine how much Michele Harris loved her kids as well. And if there was one agreement between every witness that the prosecution and that the defense produced, was that she loved her kids and she would never abandon them. So for those reasons, plus 24, we do believe that she's no longer with us. I hate saying that in front of her children because it's a painful, most likely reality, but that is what we believe, and by law, she is presumed dead.
Mr. Harris, can you elaborate on the law enforcement or lack of help rather from law enforcement? Where are they kind of,
So
in this case, are they helping at all?
I'm gonna respectfully kind of cut that off. I don't want this to kind of fall into, the same reason I declined to answer questions about the lawsuits. I don't want this press conference or this day to kind of fall off into the legal disputes and the ongoing issues that we have or have had with the law enforcement community. We really want to focus on people who have information, and we want to get Michele back. There'll be a time, I'm sure, when we'll have a full-throated response to your question, but that's, if it's okay, not today.
Of course, this entire situation is something that's almost unprecedented across the country in terms of how long everything has been going on. So if this is all successful, just what would it mean, and anybody could answer this, to finally have that sense of closure?
I just got a chill at the question, so it would be, I think, overwhelming, but, Jenna?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys, when people are pregnant, they have really crazy dreams. I have some really crazy dreams, and I can think on 3 occasions now of waking up sad because the dream, she comes back. And I would love for that to come true someday. But I think, like Aida said, it's not going to. And I guess it would just be nice knowing and not having to keep wondering or questioning or seeing someone in public, like, just to know would be a nice feeling of closure.
Okay, you good? Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you coming. Hopefully you'll get a shot of the poster and make sure you get the word out about the website and the phone number. Thank you.
Thank you.